In Section 5, we will learn about creating meaningful graphics. It's important to determine your objective for your data. What are you trying to show? That's going to help you decide what kind of graphic to use. And the first one that we'll talk about is the table, and it presents your data, usually numbers or verbal information, in columns and rows. This is just a good way to organize data. It doesn't really show you the trends. So I have a figure in your textbook that matches your graphics to your objective. So here's the table. If you just want to show exact figures and values, you could put it in a table. If you want to compare items to each other, a bar chart is good. If you want to look at numbers and how they've changed over time, like sales, a line chart would be good. Then if you have a whole set of information and you want to show the proportion of each, like a budget, how much goes to each department, a pie chart would be good. If you're trying to show a process or a procedure, you would want to use a flow chart. If you want to look at hierarchy, maybe like who reports to who, you would do an organization chart. And if you want to just create authenticity or spotlight a location or show an item in use, you would want to use a photograph or a map or some kind of illustration. So when you are trying to determine what graphic to use, this figure is a great guide. Alright, now we're going to look at how to produce an effective table, and I am going to show you an actual example of a table and kind of go over the overall format. So here is our table. Let me zoom in. So the first thing that you want to do is place your title at the top, and then you want to arrange your items in logical order. So here we have 2019 to 2023. So we're putting them in chronological order here. Then over here we have our different entertainment companies. So you have theme parks, motion parks, motion pictures, streaming media, and then the total. So we have clear headings in our rows and in our columns. And make sure you identify the units. So here we have millions of dollars. So we know that these are in millions. And we know that they're in dollars. And see how this is shaded up here? It helps us stand out. So this is how you would make an effective table by following those guidelines. You can read over this and use this as a guide when you're making a table, but I've already showed you these items. Now let's look at bar charts. Bar charts enable writers to make emphatic visual comparisons by either using horizontal or vertical bars of varying lengths. So I'm going to show you sample bar charts. So figure 10.9, we have a horizontal bar chart, and then figure 10.10, we have a vertical bar chart. So you want to keep the length and the width of each bar and segment proportional. you want to include a total figure in the end or the middle of the bar. So here we have ours at the end. Over here, of course, you would have them in the middle. And then you want to start dollar or percentage amounts at 0. So you can see in ours, they start at 0. Place a first bar at some distance, usually half the amount of space between bars from the y-axis. So right here, see how it's spaced in between evenly? You want to avoid showing too much information so it's not cluttered. So here we have our years, we have our dollar amount, we have it labeled, and we have a title. Over here, the same thing, we have a title and we have a key to the right. And I want to mention, when you're putting these in your text, you want to place it as close as possible to where it's mentioned in the text. Now we're going to look at line charts, and these show changes over time, and you can see trends. If you have multiple line charts, you can compare items such as 2 or more data sets using the same variable. And then you have segmented line charts, or these are called area charts, and they illustrate how the components of a whole change over time. So here you see a multiple line chart, and we're looking at revenue from each. So you can clearly see that motion pictures drop drastically, and it's still the lowest over time. Then over here, you can see it more as a whole, and you can also compare how much of each. So, so when you're comparing or when you're making these line charts, you want to begin with the grid. You want to have the y-axis and the x-axis, and you can do this on graph paper. And you want to arrange the time component in years, usually across the bottom. So here we have years across the bottom. And so you're going to plot the first value. So the first value here is streaming media. If you look over here at streaming media in the green, it's about 8. So you're going to plot that first point at 8. Then the next one is motion pictures. So you would plot all your points for your streaming media and color it under it. So it's basically just like this, but you're coloring under it. And then for motion pictures, it is up to 41. So you have to add 41 to this. So that'd be about almost 50. So for each one of the motion pictures, you have to find the value and add it to the streaming media. So here is 10, and this is about 39, so that would be at 49. So about right here. So you're going to continue to add, and then you would do the theme parks. You would find the value of the theme park, which is 11 here, and you're going to add 11 to this to get your point. So that's how you do a multiple line chart and a segmented line chart or area chart. And now we're going to look at a pie chart. And this is just a circle graph that enables readers to see the whole. And then this is an income by division. is the total income for MPM. The first thing you want to do is make the biggest wedge appear first. And the way you're going to think of this is a clock. So here's 12 a.m. You're going to start there. And if you use a computer spreadsheet program, it's going to automatically assign the biggest wedge first. So right here. You want to include the actual percentage or the absolute value of each wedge. You want to use 4 to 6 segments for best results. So try not to get too many in there. And if you have like really small percentages, you can put them all together as other. You want to draw your radii from the center. So each chunk is drawn from the center of the circle. Use different colors to distinguish the wedges. And you want to keep all labels horizontal. So that is how you would want to do a pie chart. You're going to use a flow chart when you want to simplify or clarify a way of diagramming procedures. So traditional flow charts are going to use the symbol, the oval, to designate the beginning and the end. Here it designates the end. We're trying to get it to the customer. And it looks like it starts up here. And then you have the decision if the company receives the order. If they haven't paid, it goes to the credit department. If they have prepaid, the customer service is going to check the inventory to see if it's available. So the diamonds here designate decision points, and then the rectangles represent major activities or steps. Organization charts provide information as who reports to whom, how many subordinates work for each manager, which is the span of control, and what channels of official communication exist. And photos add authenticity and provide a visual record. Maps enable report writers to depict activities or concentrations geographically. You could have dots indicating sales reps in states across the country. You can have illustrations and diagrams. And an infographic is a visual representation of complex information in a format that's easy to understand. Here's a infographic in your textbook. It's a resume. So it has the name and the information, and then has a timeline of where this person worked and what they did. So this highlights their work, and down here it looks like their education. And then your skill sets, there's a key down here. And then a daily intake and output. So a very good visual representation. The last thing that we want to look at is how to incorporate this into reports. You want to evaluate the audience, use restraint, be accurate and ethical, introduce a graph meaningly, and choose an appropriate caption or title style.